Hi everyone, Pika has just released their brand new 2.2 video model which has much better quality and consistency. You can also generate 10-second videos now, and they've released a brand new feature on the platform for Pika frames. So this is essentially keyframing. Now keyframing is nothing new, but the way that Pikaframes does this transitioning from one image to another looks really amazing, and I'll be showing you a whole bunch of creative use cases that you can try. So let's dive straight into it. So from the home page at the bottom, you should automatically have the 2.2 model selected. If you don't, just make sure that you left click on here and select 2.2. Okay, so with the 2.2 model by default, if I click on settings, you will be generating videos at 1080p resolution. So you'll get much better quality and detail as well as consistency with your end results. And now for the first time ever, there's a brand new icon over here, which is this clock, and allows you to generate videos that are either 5 seconds long or 10 seconds long. And this applies to text to video, image to video, as well as Pikascenes, and then the brand new feature over here called Pikaframes. By the way, if you guys are going to do Pikascenes, I would still recommend using the 2.1 model. It just gives you better results, so I hope they actually improve that. Anyway, this video is going to be focused on this brand new feature over here called Pikaframes, so make sure you left click to select that, and I'll be explaining this in detail. So Pikaframes allows you to create these very creative transitions between images. You'll upload a first frame and a last frame, you'll type in a prompt, and you'll click on this icon to generate the video. So now you just simply drag and drop your images over here. So I'm going to upload my first frame, which is going to be my opening shot, and then my last frame, which is going to be my closing shot. Now here's just a bonus tip. If you guys want to generate images completely for free, you can still use Google's ImageFX and use Imagen 3. So I say to generate beautiful imagery like this. So check this out. This is the prompt that I use to actually get images like this. And then you can save them off this platform and you can use them as your inputs on Pikaframes. So at this point, I can actually click on this button to start generating a video, but I'm going to recommend that you include a prompt because it's better to essentially tell the AI how these images relate to each other and what should actually be happening with that transition. So, this is the prompt that I'm using, and I've noticed whenever I start my prompting over here with the following term, smooth seamless transition, I always get really good results, and then the rest of this prompt is obviously going to tell the AI what should be happening with that transition. So once I've got my prompt in place and my images, I can click on generate right now. Or, I can change the duration. Now this is the first AI video model I've seen where you can actually choose a duration between 1 to 10 seconds. So this is amazing. You can only do this with Pikaframes, by the way. But this is great. So if you want, maybe a transition to happen a lot quicker, you can choose 2 seconds, 5 seconds, or even 10 seconds. So once you've selected your duration, then you can click on this button and start generating your video. So these are my end results at different durations, and you can see how you can use the element of time to do storytelling. So if you want your transition to happen a lot faster, put it on 2 seconds and you'll even get faster camera motion. If you want something to be more drawn out and maybe in slow motion, then 10 seconds will maybe work better. If you want a good in-between value, then 5 seconds is going to work well for you. This really depends on what type of story you're trying to tell, but the fact that you can control that duration I think is amazing. This means that you can get very creative with this. So what I've done over here is I've taken my last frame from my previous video and now made it my first frame. So this means that I'm continuing that visual story. I've also generated a new image over here because now I'm going to create a new transition. I've also adjusted my prompt as needed, and I actually put this one on 2 seconds. And it's given me this beautiful transition. So this is another great way to see continue of your storytelling. And with whatever video editing software that you're using, you can then stitch these videos together to create something that's more cohesive. So now I'm going to show you some very creative use cases that you can try with Pikaframes. If you guys want to generate images like this, you can do it for free using Google's ImageFX. However, the censorship is a little bit extreme because you can only generate images of adults and elderly.
I am translating this prompt.
Now the only thing you need to changing your prompt over here. Instead of saying adults, you'll change that to elderly or toddler or teenager, but you must be descriptive. You can see I've even specified what color the hair is, as well as the color of the eyes and the items of clothing. That just helps to create a more consistent looking image throughout those different ages. Now, if you guys go the paid route, you will have less censorship on here, and I'm using Freepik for this. You can also use Google Imagen 3 on here and even other services for generating images. But then you can generate teenagers and toddlers, and you can do the full range. So you can go from to toddler all the way to an elderly person. And yeah, that's how easy it is to do using Pikaframes. So give it a try. So you can get creative with this. You can transition between different people. Remember Michael Jackson's Black or White music video? Well, you can essentially do that with Pikaframe, or maybe create a transformation. Maybe someone is morphing into a werewolf. Get creative and have fun. You can create these really interesting videos where someone's item of clothing just rapidly changes on their body. And to show you how this was created, you can see I've got a first frame and a last frame. But you'll notice that in this video, the person's face as well as the background hasn't changed. So how did I actually do this? So the item of clothing was actually changed using Inpainting. Painting. Now you can do Inpainting with Freepik. Keep in mind, this is a paid service, but if you wanted to try this, this is a very easy way to do it. You just click over here and you select Retouch. Now you would essentially just drag and drop your image over here, upload the image, and then adjust the brush size to paint a mask over the area of the image you want to change. So I'm going to change this item of clothing here. So I'm just going to paint a mask on his jacket. Just like this. Doesn't have to be super accurate. As soon as I got my mask in place, I can type in what I want this to represent. So I can say a blue puffer jacket. Alright, and it's only going to change this region where I've created this mask. Now I can click on Retouch, and the artificial intelligence is automatically going to change this item of clothing for me. So I'll just wait for it to generate. Give it a couple of seconds, and here we go. So now I've got some different garments that I can select over here. Alright, obviously some images have done a much better job than the other ones. So whichever one that I like, I can select that and then click on Apply. Let's say I like this one. Click on Apply. Then I can now save this image. I can export it, and that can become my last frame. So you can see over here, I've got the start frame and the end frame, and then the prompt that I used is just smooth, seamless transition, and I can get some really interesting looking videos just like this. So try this. Put the term whip pan in your prompt and you'll be able to create these very fast camera pans where the background also gets blurred. So it's quite a popular technique in film, and this can be used to create energy or adrenaline in a scene, and you can even use it to jump through space and time. So this is very interesting and also very useful. But you can use images
Control camera movement, focus
on a very specific part of your generated video. So the way that I've done this is actually very simple. Cool. You can see my first frame here is the image in its entirety, and then the second frame is essentially cropped much closer onto the face. And because I wanted the camera to focus on the eyes and those sunglasses, I then guide this with a prompt and get a very cool end result. So you guys should definitely give this a try if you want to focus on something very specific. So something fun to mess around with, I actually managed to make a flower rapidly grow. And to do this is actually very simple. So I generated an image of a flower against a black background, and then I went over to Freepik. I went to Retouch because this allows me to do Inpainting, but I can also erase elements from an image. So I would drag and drop my image in here, and then over here by Erase, I will just increase the brush size and simply paint over this entire region over here where you see all of these flowers, right? As simple as this. Okay, so just paint over all the flowers. And then all I have to do is click on Retouch, and the AI is automatically going to remove these flowers for me, right? Then I would do the same over here on the shadows because I wouldn't want those shadows to be cast. Now obviously I'd have to look for an image over here that works well. With this one again, I could literally just paint these imperfections out of the image. So once I had an image that's essentially on its own, which is an image like this. And I'll show you the start frame and the end frame. So I'll just click on reprompt so that it puts all of these elements back in here. You can see I've got my first frame and then my last frame, and this is the prompt that I used. And it gives me a really interesting result where you can make a flower rapidly grow. You can easily generate these awesome isometric video animations, and you can generate the images to do this for free. So if you guys head over to Google's ImageFX, you can use Imagen 3, and this is the prompt that I'm using. So the most important part of this prompt is to type in, imagine an isometric view of a rectangular room. And then you guys can describe all of the other elements that are supposed to be in this room. So I went for something that's 90s themed with a CRT television and all of these other elements. Also make sure the aspect ratio is square so that you can see the entirety of this isometric room. And if you guys want to see what's the prompt for this, I'll show you right now. So you can pause the video over here if you maybe want to generate a 90s themed room as well. And then the next part is to actually generate an empty room. So for the prompt over here, you can see that I said, imagine an isometric view of an empty rectangular room. And then I'm also specifying, what's the other element. So in this case, I wanted the color of the wall to be, the same with the color of the wall from this image, where the room is actually full of furniture. And I also said that there is a wooden floor just so it's a little bit more consistent, but obviously you can do whatever you want. Then once you've got both of these images and you've downloaded them and saved them from ImageFX, you go back to Pika. Go to bigger frames. Your first frame will be the empty room, and your last frame will be the room with all the furniture. Then you type in the prompt, smooth, seamless transition, click on generate, and also choose a duration, and you can get these awesome animations where a room will rapidly fill with furniture. Then say into fire, and then the eagle returns from the fire. Into a flaming eagle. I also experimented with something fashion related and turned a dress made out of bark that's on fire into a dress made out of ferns and flowers. So get creative and have fun. Right, you can try and generate an opening title. So as you can see over here, there's this beautiful gradient and then eventually the title appears. So to do this is super simple. Again, you just need two images. So the first image over here is going to be this gradient image that I've generated with free
Pink, which is this image.
Right as my starting frame, and then the next frame is going to be the image that has my text included, right? And then that transition that happens between these two images with this prompt, you can see I said smooth, seamless transition, a swirling gradient
Shapes.
with text, and then it gives me this awesome end result. So go ahead and experiment with this as well if you guys maybe want to create some opening titles.
You can definitely...
So, to actually generate these images, I use Freepik because on Freepik you can click on styles and there's an ink print style over here. So I already have that set up for me, and then the prompt that I used over here to generate this image is this following prompt. Then I generated another image with this ink splatter. Just like that. And then back on Pika. Again, it's as simple as uploading the ink splatter as my first frame and then the samurai general as the last frame, and then this is the prompt that I used to create this beautiful revealing transition. So maybe give this a try. And just one more tip, if you actually make the first frame a completely white frame in this case, you'll actually get the second image to be revealed. Like here's an example where, you can see the prompt over here as well. The samurai general just appears on this white canvas from black smoke. And I think these transitions look very interesting. There's another example. So yeah, definitely give this a try if you guys want to go the route of creating these ink splash revealing animations. You can use Pikaframes to generate loops. The easiest way to do that is to use the same image as both your first frame and your last frame. You then type in a prompt describing what you actually want to happen between the transition, and you'll get a looping video just like this one. It's a say like this. So you'll notice when it plays, when it gets to the end of that 5 seconds, it then loops back to that first frame, and because both frames are the same, it's going to create a looping video. Another creative loop that you can try is called the boomerang loop, and you can do this with editing software. So if you've generated a video using Pikaframes, you essentially need to just duplicate this video. So I'm going to hold down Alt and drag over here to duplicate it. Now over here, I just need to select this video, and there's a button here called reverse. So you can see over here when it gets to the end, the video now reverses and starts from this image and plays back to the beginning. So it creates what's regarded as a boomerang loop, and it literally is this simple to do while you're using Capcut, or you can do it in any other editing software that allows you to reverse a video. You can also create a loop using two separate videos that you've generated with Pikaframes. For instance, this first video, this was the start frame, and this is the end frame. So that's one video. Then I generated another one where this image is now the start frame and this image is the end frame. But because it's a different video, the actions between these two videos are completely different, which is what makes it very unique. But you are still going to get that loop that happens. So give this a try and experiment with looping using Pikaframes. So I'm all about transparency. If you guys want to use the 2.2 model, you are going to need a subscription. So you will have to subscribe to the $10 plan, and if you want to, you guys can see how much credits are actually being consumed for every generation. So I just wanted to get that out there so you guys know what's required in order to use this new model. Alright, so that's going to be the end of this tutorial. Now you can see how powerful Pikaframes is. You can do so much with keyframing, and if you discover any other creative use cases, feel free to let the community know by dropping a comment down below. And yeah, go out there and create some magic because you are super awesome. Stay tuned for some more videos and tutorials, and goodbye.